As I zoom things in here, you can see the streets getting a little bit smaller, so I'll do the best that I can to read them off right here. We have, it looks like Sam, what's that? Trying to make that out. There we go. Sam Sullivan Road. This is going to be in the western extent of Washington County. I'll go ahead and move things over and we'll try to find more streets out there for you. If you know of anybody that lives on these streets, there's a chance that they might not be watching this coverage. Give them a call, let them know that there's a potential tornado working its way in their direction. We have Circle K. This is going to be working its way close to Millry, and it looks like that's going to be Buckatana Road as you work your way from, again, Greene County and Wayne County into the western extent of Washington County. Either way, that this storm is likely producing some pretty strong winds. We also have Beasley Road, so I'm trying to point out all these streets that we possibly can in the western extent of Washington County. For those of you in Chapel Hill, you also want to be into that safe place as well. It's a little hard to see just because when we talk about storms in the northwestern extent of Washington County, they're also a decent bit away from the radar. So let me go ahead and try to put on a different product right here, and that might actually give us a better indication of where this shear is. And you can see that for the most part, right in the northwestern corridor of Washington County, anywhere from Chapel Hill just to the north and just to the west of Shady Grove. Anyone in these areas needs to be getting into that safe place, and this looks like this is going to be crossing here over towards Britton Leach Road near Bradley Camp Road. If this sounds familiar to you in the northwestern corner of Washington County, you need to be getting into that safe place now. Again, that's an interior room away from windows. This tornado warning does continue until 10 o'clock this evening, so we still have another 10 minutes with this. I'll check with the National Weather Service in Mobile, and still haven't seen another update. So as far as we're aware that this tornado warning is going to continue for at least the next 10 minutes in northwestern Washington County. But I also want to just look at the storm system as a whole, because you can see this line of storms. This is all this main line that we've been talking about. The main concern with this particular line is going to be that potential of strong straight line winds. Now, within this line, we could continue to see some quick spin-ups, and we could continue to see additional tornado warnings, which is why the entire NBC 15 area is currently included within a tornado watch until 2 o'clock in the morning. For the severe thunderstorm warning, which encompasses more of Washington County and the northern edge of Greene County, that's going to continue through 10:30. The main concern with this severe thunderstorm warning will be potential wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. So even within this tornado warning, if it's not producing a tornado, it could very well still be producing wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. So if you're in the northwestern corner of Washington County, you definitely want to be seeking shelter into that safe place, interior room, lowest level of your home, away from windows, in a sturdy structure. But you also want to be seeking shelter just if you are in this area from anywhere from Chatham down through central Washington County and then through the northern portion of Greene County and Mississippi, right along Highway 42, right along Highway 17, and right along Highway 56 as well. Now, I do want to go ahead and move the picture over here because I'm tracking a stronger storm that's currently working its way through Escambia County in Alabama. And as you can see, we're looking at times of very heavy rain. Some of that heaviest rain is now beginning to work its way east of Atmore. And you can see some of this heaviest rain is just to the west of Bruton. Even Bruton seeing some pretty heavy rain at this particular point. So let me put on the storm relative velocity here. And these areas that are in the bright greens over towards Little Rock and you go over towards Robinsonville, these are where we're seeing some pretty strong wind gusts being measured by the radar. And you can see 69 miles per hour in that spot, 59. And then as you approach Little Rock, 55 miles per hour. Again, we're still a decent ways away from the National Weather Service radar site at Mobile Regional Airport, but we could still very well be talking about wind gusts on the magnitude of 40 and 50 miles per hour. And given the rain that we've seen with the soaked ground that we have, that could still topple some trees and maybe even some power lines. So while this storm is not severe, you still want to be inside and you do not want to be outside when it comes to a storm like this. And just when you look at it, you can definitely tell it has some inflow right here. With the winds coming into the storm like that, then you have that rotation right there. So again, as of right now, not a severe storm and not a tornado warning on it, but it is still a strong storm nonetheless. And this is actually the same storm that we saw move through southeastern Mobile County that prompted the first tornado warning that we saw this evening. Then it worked its way through Baldwin County, a severe storm at that particular point, multiple reports of some power outages there, and it continued to cross the Prudhoe River, and now it's working its way into Escambia County in Alabama. Excuse me. Let me go ahead and go back to the regular reflectivity, and I'm going to go ahead and put a motion on this just so we can see the evolution of our storms. So let me go ahead and go from now through the last 30 minutes, and you'll be able to see the lapse of these storms. So the one that's moving through Escambia County, that was moving from the southwest off to the northeast. We are keeping a close eye on some of these storms that are developing out in the Gulf of Mexico. So just a heads up if you're in southern Baldwin County and the southern extent of Escambia County in northwest Florida. And this main line of storms, that's been moving from west to east at a pretty steady clip, right around 40 miles per hour. And that's going to continue to work its way into our neighborhood. So as we go through tonight, the main window of severe weather is just getting going. As I talked about, we do have the entire NBC. So let me go ahead and pull that up. And not only can you see the entire NBC 15 area included within this tornado watch, but this tornado watch is pretty encompassing. Even extends all the way to the Alabama and Tennessee line and includes areas off to our west and to our southwest, even as far southwest as New Orleans. Within this tornado watch, and for us specifically, several tornadoes can't be ruled out. And we also have the potential to see isolated damaging wind gusts, maybe upwards of 70 to 80 miles per hour. And also what was mentioned when the tornado watch came in is ping pong ball size hail also can't be ruled out. So we'll be watching for all modes of severe weather as we go through tonight. Let me see if I can pull up the Atmore camera and see if we can pick out what is happening out there. And unfortunately, it looks like that camera has gone down in Atmore. But if you're in Atmore and you are starting to see some of that heavy weather, send us in a report and we can pass that along to the National Weather Service in Mobile. So going back to our tornado warning, the reason why we joined in on this coverage here on NBC 15 TV, I believe that we're also streaming on Facebook Live and on our website, mynbc15.com. This tornado warning continues through 10 o'clock. This storm didn't originate, but we saw this tornado warning first get issued in Wayne County, but that circulation has spun up, faded away, and has spun up again, and it is now working its way into the northwestern portion of Washington County. So for those of you that are anywhere from Chapel Hill down through Shady Grove and Mahaffey, you need to be getting into that safe place now. For those of you around Dunbar and over towards Millry, right along the Highway 17 corridor, for those of you that are in that area, you want to be identifying that safe place because pretty soon this storm is going to be moving over your neighborhood. So that gives you just a little bit of time to find that safe place. Interior room, away from windows. And as we talked about, this storm is moving roughly to the east around 30 miles per hour. And as you can see, just based on the current projection, within the next 10 minutes, likely going to be moving towards Millry. In the next 7 minutes, Dunbar. And within the next 5 minutes or so, we'll be approaching Healing Springs. So that's when you get close to the Highway 17 corridor. Let me go ahead and put on the storm relative velocity or just the winds, and we'll try to identify where that circulation is. Since this is a decent ways away from the radar, it's still kind of hard to tell where that exact couplet is. So just basically anybody within this tornado warning, I want you to be seeking shelter from this particular storm. Let's go ahead and go back to the shear. And this is actually somewhat positive, at least for Washington County. However, you go just north of Washington County, that might not necessarily be the case, especially up towards Aguila, where while this might not be the NBC 15 area, I know that there are some folks that watch, especially as you make your way up towards Silas, and that's again just outside of our area. But if you're still around northwestern Washington County, there's still that potential that this line of storms could still produce a spin up as it continues to move to the east. Now let's go ahead and zoom this back out and take a look at the bigger picture, because we're also watching some pretty strong storms that are working their way now through Greene County in Mississippi, and we're also starting to see some stronger storms moving through George County in Mississippi. Those systems don't have any warnings associated with them once you get south of that warning as you make your way down towards Leakesville. But as these systems move into this environment that we have, there will be that potential that they could become severe and even produce a tornado. And you can see this entire line of storms more or less from Greene County into Washington County, all the way up more or less to the Alabama and Tennessee line. They're producing either severe thunderstorm warnings or even some tornado warnings for the time being. For those of you that are just tuning in, We did have a tornado warning earlier in southeastern Mobile County. That storm crossed over into Baldwin County, and that's the storm that's now moving through Escambia County into the southern portion of us into Conecuh County. We're also watching a few storms down towards the coast, nothing too concerning at this point. And for these areas in green, these are active flood advisories, because when that storm came through earlier that produced the tornado warning and those severe thunderstorm warnings for Mobile and Baldwin counties, they dropped a swath of 2 to 4 inches of rain. That's combined on top of the rain that we saw yesterday. So when this line of storms ends up working its way through with the saturated ground that we have, as we add more rain to the equation, as we add more wind to the equation, and the potential of tornadoes, we could be looking at potentially trees falling down and also maybe some power outages. As you get ready to go to bed tonight, as this line works its way through, because it'll be working its way through now, more or less through the overnight hours, have multiple ways to receive alerts just in case if a warning is issued for your location, and also identify where that safe place is just in case that warning's issued and you have to get out of bed quickly and find that shelter. Let's go ahead and go back to Escambia County in Alabama and also go into Conecuh County, where you can see some of that heavier rain is now beginning to work its way into places like Castleberry. We'll be approaching Range and also approaching Repton. And just new wind from the National Weather Service. As this line of storms continues to move to the northeast, they're more or less following it with an aerial flood advisory. And that just simply means that minor flooding is going to be a possibility. But again, based on some of the rain that we saw yesterday, we add more rain to the equation. That will lead to a higher risk of flooding. The time is currently 9:59. We are going to stay with our coverage through NBC 15 News at 10 o'clock. And then hopefully, once we get to 10:30, the risk, we don't see any tornado warnings, and then that way we can catch our bearings at that point. But we're going to continue to go through for the next half hour or so. So we're going to try to give you just as much information as possible here. That tornado warning that was issued for northwestern Washington County, that was expected to continue through 10 o'clock. I haven't seen too many updates. It looks like from the National Weather Service, the circulation has now weakened considerably, so the tornado warning will allow to be expired. So that's positive news. For those of you that are in northwestern Washington County, from Millry over towards Dunbar, it looks like the risk of a tornado has gone down, but that doesn't mean that the risk of strong winds have gone down, because it still looks like we're seeing some pockets of some strong winds around 55 to maybe even 60 miles per hour. And that is enough to maybe do some tree damage and maybe even knock out some power as well. For those of you that are watching, especially out on Facebook and on our live stream, make sure that you share this with those that might not have access to this. That way we can give as many people updates as we possibly can. Looks like the flood advisory for southeastern Mobile County has been allowed to expire, but they continue for southern Baldwin County. That continues through 10:45. The one for central Baldwin County into the northwestern part of Escambia County in northwest Florida, that continues through 11:45. And then the flood advisory that we have for portions of Conecuh and Escambia counties, that's going to continue through 1 o'clock in the morning. So let me go ahead and switch this over, and we're going to look at some of the rainfall over the last 24 hours, because in a lot of spots it's been pretty significant, especially as you go down towards southern Mobile County into portions of Baldwin County. And as mentioned, just with this swath of rain that we've seen, it's been roughly 2 to 4 inches. And yesterday, we broke the rainfall record in Mobile. So we're more or less catching back up from our deficit that we have seen. And then when you just look back to the west, the storms that are moving in are producing some pretty heavy rain. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and step out of the screen once again, because I'm going to transition our radar to more or less our show, so that way I can show you the, we can talk about the forecast model and the future cast and where we're going to be heading for the rest of this evening. So bear with me here just one moment, and we'll talk about the forecast as we go through the next 12 to 18 hours. So again, here's a current look at the radar of what we're watching. Those showers and storms on a 2-hour loop, continuing to move in from the west with that main line. And we're also still watching some strong storms over through Escambia County in Alabama. So those flood advisories will continue. We'll be watching these storms very closely. The tornado watch, that continues through 2 o'clock in the morning. And as mentioned, when the tornado watch came into effect, the wording from the Storm Prediction Center was that several tornadoes are likely within this watch, which includes our area. Isolated hail up to ping pong size hail and scattered wind gusts upwards of 80 miles per hour can't be completely ruled out. All of this is being driven by our next weather maker. It's a cold front, low pressure, and warm front. We've seen a lot of warm and moist air work its way into the Gulf Coast states, and that's why you can see tornado watches extended from southeastern Louisiana all the way up through the Tennessee and Alabama state line. Again, all that does include of our area, and those areas that are flashing in reds and yellows are severe thunderstorm warnings and active tornado warnings. As of right now, there are no active tornado warnings in our area. If that changes, then that's where we'll shift our focus to. We still have a level 4 moderate risk for the northwestern corner of our area, while a lot of spots along and just east of I-65, level 3 enhanced risk, and then for the eastern part of our area, level 2 slight risk. That means isolated to scattered severe storms are possible, while widespread severe storms are a possibility within the level 4 moderate risk. Here's the latest forecast tracker. This is using high-res forecast model data, and at this point, the forecast model is doing pretty well. I'm starting this at 11 o'clock, so I'm fast forwarding this 1 hour. And the reason why I'm doing that is because forecast models typically lag behind a little bit. So put an extra hour on this, and that's where those storms are likely going to be. So at 11 o'clock tonight, showers and storms continuing to move in from the west, and by 12:30 should be approaching the I-65 corridor to produce strong winds, isolated tornadoes, and even some hail. And any storms that develop out in front of this main line will also have the potential to become severe and also potentially produce tornadoes. We'll keep our fingers crossed that we don't see any more tornado warnings tonight, but based on the environment these storms are going to be moving in, that potential will continue to exist. By 2:30 in the morning, the tornado watch that we're currently under will expire, but it might get extended, especially for areas east of I-65, as those showers and storms will continue to work their way off to the west. By 4 o'clock in the morning, showers and storms mainly going to be in the easternmost part of our area, and then we'll see things gradually calm down as we go from Sunday morning into Sunday afternoon. And once we get past daybreak, things should calm down in a significant way. And really, the weather as we close out the weekend will actually be quite pleasant. We'll see temperatures near 70 degrees under a mix of sun and clouds. The next 18 hours definitely going to be a bit of a roller coaster. But I mentioned beforehand that the environment that these storms are in do have the potential to produce severe weather, as we're currently seeing. And here's a really good example of this. This is using forecast model energy and spin. So how much energy the atmosphere has, and then how easily it is for storms to potentially rotate. Starting this at 10 o'clock, you can see as that line is approaching from the west, a lot of the stronger signals are mainly to our west. And then as we approach midnight tonight, closer to the I-65 corridor, and then that main energy and spin continues to move to the east as we go from the overnight into tomorrow morning. And by 7:30, just about all the available energy and spin moves out of our area, and by that point, we're going to be looking at calmer skies settling in. We're also going to be looking at the potential for some pretty heavy rainfall. This is through tomorrow morning, and this particular forecast model is showing rainfall anywhere from ½ an inch to another 3 inches of rain. But as we've seen with these thunderstorms, we could see locally higher and lower amounts. With the rain that we've seen recently, flooding is going to continue to be a concern, and it is going to be an elevated concern over the next few days. So on our 7-day tracker, today is still that code red weather day, and that continues into very early on Sunday morning. Once we get past daybreak, we lose the code red. And remember, code red is not meant to concern, it's just meant to let you know that we do have weather that could be impactful to you. So you want to make sure that you're staying up to date and have that plan in place just in case as well. Past daybreak, just that slim 10% chance of a shower. Then as we move into Monday, into New Year's Eve, temperature still staying above average. Front looks like it's going to move through New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. And once we move into 2025, that's when we'll start to see some cooler temperatures move back in. So we are going to be continuing on our temperature roller coaster over the next several days. The time is currently 10:06, and we're going to go ahead and go back to the radar, and we're going to catch you up on all the severe storms that we currently have. As of right now, there's only one severe thunderstorm warning across the NBC 15 area, and it's in the northwestern corner of our area in northwestern Washington County. So far, so good compared to what we could be looking at when it comes to this line of storms, given the energy that it currently has. This severe thunderstorm warning continues until 10:30, and as we zoom things in here, you'll see that places like Millry and over towards Barlow are seeing some of the heaviest rain and likely the gustiest winds. Jordan and Chatham currently on the way to you. And as we zoom out just a little bit more, as you go down towards Greene County, George County, and approaching Jackson County, that main line still approaching from the west. At this point, those storms are currently below severe limits. Then as we zoom back into the stronger storm that we've been watching in Escambia County in Alabama and southern Conecuh County, that storm also below severe criteria, but still producing some very heavy rain and likely some pretty gusty winds as well. Any rotation with this is still broad, but that rotation still at least there. So this storm is at least spinning a little bit, likely producing some pretty gusty winds right along and just north of the I-65 corridor. I'm going to step off screen, see if there's any new updates from the National Weather Service in Mobile. Looks like the latest update is that they're just continuing the warning for Choctaw and Wayne County just to the north of us, and also continuing the warning for Washington County and Greene County as the ones that we have been currently to us on mynbc15.com, or you can send us an email, and then we'll try to get that information to the National Weather Service in Mobile. So as far as we currently stand, the time is currently 10:08. We're going to continue our coverage until 10:30 tonight, because a lot of you might be tuning in expecting to see NBC 15 news at 10 o'clock, but we wanted to make sure that you had your weather coverage for tonight as well. Today is a code red weather day, as you'll see right there. As we go through tonight, just make sure that you continue to stay tuned on what is happening with the weather. And that's because we do have that back through as we go throughout this live coverage, just going bouncing between storm and storm. And then eventually I'm going to move off screen and I'm going to check our Facebook feed, because if you guys have any questions, comments while you're watching this, I'll try to answer really as many questions as you guys might have. So that's one of the benefits of being able to do these live forecasts, where we're also able to incorporate technology. But for those of you in Millry, I still want you into that safe place, because we're still looking at some pretty heavy rain that's coming down in that area and likely some pretty gusty winds. Let me go ahead and switch this over to the shear and just kind of see what we're seeing at this particular point, where there is plenty of it. And that just indicates where we're likely seeing some of the strongest winds at this particular point. And you can see that line of shear even extends down into George County in Mississippi. So let's go ahead and go back to the base. Just putting this on the last 30 minutes or so. We still have those aerial flood advisories that we were talking about that did originally start in southeastern Mobile County, working their way through Baldwin County and now into portions of Escambia, both Alabama and northwest Florida, and into Conecuh County as you make your way into the northeastern part of our area. And hopefully we continue to see this trend where these storms that move in maybe produce severe storms and stay away from producing any tornadoes. But as we've seen time and time again, these storms have been producing at least some tornado warnings. So I'm going to go ahead and step back out of the picture, and we're actually going to go back in time just a little bit more. And then that way, that might just kind of give everyone a better perspective of just kind of what we have been seeing so far today. So I'm going to put this on the national radar. I'm going to stop this, and we're going to go ahead and loop it back over the last 8 hours, because across the southeastern and just really the southern United States over today, it has been significantly busy. It started even around this morning into the early stages of the afternoon. Our storm system was getting going around 2 o'clock this afternoon. You can see the amount of tornado warnings and also severe thunderstorm warnings that were issued, especially in portions of Texas, Louisiana, then eventually into southwestern Mississippi. Then as that storm was working its way through the central part of Mississippi associated with that main line, as we were dealing with our first round of severe weather, you can just see blanket tornado warnings that were moving from west to east and then approaching the I-59 corridor. And those storms since that point have crossed that and are now working their way into our area. Looks like the National Weather Service has issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. And this is going to be for Mobile and in George County. So this is a brand new severe thunderstorm warning. Let me get the information on this from the National Weather Service. This is a severe thunderstorm that's located 6 miles southwest of Loosedale. It's moving east around 20 miles per hour. I'm going to put this back on the National Weather Service radar site in Mobile. The main concern here is going to be the potential of 60 mile per hour winds, again moving east at 20 miles per hour. This encompasses a lot of central George County into the westernmost portion of Mobile County. So anybody around Wilmer and then even over towards Boothtown, you want to be keeping a close eye on this storm. And for those of you that are in Vaughan, Lucedale, and Agricola, you need to be getting in your safe spot. Again, this main concern with this particular storm is the potential of wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. Let me go ahead and put on the velocity product here, and we'll be able to see just how strong the winds are. Around Central, it looks like that's where the strongest winds currently are, where the radar is estimating winds of potentially upwards of 60 miles per hour, which is no surprise why we saw that severe thunderstorm warning get issued. All right. National Weather Service just issued looks like a tornado warning for southern Jackson County in Mississippi. So we're continuing to see these new warnings, and when you have a line of storms like this, it is no surprise that we do have these warnings that continue to pop up. So as we go through tonight, this can continue to be the case where we just continue to see these severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings get issued. I know Jackson County isn't technically in the NBC 15 area, but there are still plenty of folks that watch, and if you know my story as well, you know that I'm from Jackson County in Mississippi in Ocean Springs, so local right along the Gulf Coast, and we do have that tornado warning for southern Jackson County in Mississippi. This is going to continue through 11:15. This does also include the southern extent of Harrison County in Mississippi as well. So anybody that might be watching along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, especially on Facebook and also on our live stream on mynbc15.com, you need to be getting into that safe place. And based on what I'm currently seeing, it looks like that rotation that the National Weather Service in New Orleans highlighted actually could be right along the I-10 corridor just to the north of Mississippi City I-10. So anybody in this area needs to be seeking shelter. Let me go ahead and see some more of these storms over here. Looks like they did quite a bit of an extended warning as you go over towards the central and eastern part of Jackson County in Mississippi. But this also just goes to prove that this line of storms not only will have the potential to produce severe thunderstorm warnings, but also produce additional tornado warnings. And we'll have to be keeping a very close eye on all of these storms as they continue to move from west to east. Let's get you back to that severe thunderstorm warning in central George County in Mississippi. As we spoke about, this severe thunderstorm warning continues through 11 o'clock tonight. Right now, the core of this storm is moving over Lucedale. Pretty soon we'll be approaching Agricola and over towards Shipman. It's moving to the east around 20 miles per hour, so let me go ahead and put a storm track on that and give anyone a heads up out in front of the storm that might be in the path of this storm. There we go. So you can see in the next 5 minutes we'll be approaching Shipman. In the next 19 minutes, Moffett. In the next 25 minutes, Wilmer. I always like to try to give you an extra minute or two because typically the radar lags behind maybe about 30 seconds to a minute. So just that's one thing that you also want to keep in mind whenever we're going through the coverage like this, that there might be just a fraction of a delay right there. But for those of you in Wilmer, you'll need to be watching this storm carefully as we go through the next 20 to 30 minutes as well. As we continue to move to the north in the northwestern portion of Mobile County, southwestern Washington County, times of very heavy rain, gusty winds are now moving towards your area, while the severe thunderstorm warning, the extent of the severe storm is now getting close to the boundary of this severe storm. Now keep in mind, severe storms, they don't necessarily follow these polygons. We do the best that we can to draw them, but they're not bound by these lines. That doesn't mean to say that if you're just outside of this severe thunderstorm warning that you won't see strong winds. So just a heads up, if you live right along Highway 69 or right along Highway 43 and right along Highway 56 just to the east of Chatham. Time is currently 10:16. Again, as we talked about, we're going to continue our coverage through at least 10:30. But if we do end up seeing more tornado warnings get issued, then we will continue to stay with our coverage. Meteorologist Kelly Foster is here as well, and she's going to be covering us with this as we go throughout tonight. So we have the whole team here to make sure that you're covered as we go through tonight. Let's go ahead and go down to southern Baldwin County. We have seen an additional storm move into the southern part of the county. Based on what I'm currently seeing, while there are some pockets of some heavier rain, it doesn't look like there's anything too concerning with this particular storm, which is, of course, good news. And as I've continued to say, and as I will continue to say, hopefully, with some of the storms that we've picked up earlier this evening, especially in parts of Mobile, Baldwin, and now through the I-65 corridor in Connecticut County, hopefully that took some of the energy out of the atmosphere. And as this main line of storms moves in, maybe it falls apart a little bit quicker than it otherwise would. Of course, we'll hope that is the case, but we can't bank on that just given the potential that we are looking at when it comes to our storms. So let me go ahead and turn this off really quickly, and I'm going to show you the storm risk that was issued from the Storm Prediction Center earlier today. Let me go to the national and go to the day one outlook, and you can see this is still a significant outlook that we're looking at. Most of the area east of I-65 in the NBC 15 area is still in that level 2 slight risk for severe storms. That means isolated severe storms are a possibility. Along and just west of I-65, level 3 enhanced risk. That means scattered severe storms are a possibility. And of course, you have that level 4 risk, and that means widespread severe storms are likely. And as I expand the view, for those spots within that level 4 moderate risk today, they definitely saw what's currently included within this moderate risk is once this main line of storms moves through your area, the risk of severe weather will be going down drastically, and we'll be able to see that risk of tornadoes and strong winds also go away. And one thing that you might be able to tell is when we look at tornado watches and severe thunderstorm watches, as that risk goes away, they'll also cancel that part of the watch. So as you can see, the western part of our area more or less is on the western extent of this tornado watch that continues through 2 o'clock. So the fact remains that as this main line of storms moves east of where you are in our area, the risk of severe weather will then begin to go down. So if we can get through this next, I would say 30. But as I zoom things back into Chatham, as we're taking a live look at this radar, there are 2 areas that I'm keeping a little bit of a closer eye on. You can see 2 pockets right here, one in northern Washington County and one in the central part. Where you have these storms that jut out like this, that's where you're likely seeing at least some close to severe wind gusts. But then you also have this little pocket right here. Let me go ahead and put this stencil feature back on, where you have winds coming into the storm, and then you also have that potential rotating aspect right there. That's currently close to Chatham. This does not have a tornado warning on it, but a lot of the storms that we've been watching tonight have seen spin-ups rather quickly, and then that circulation kind of dissipate. And as we look at these lines, that will continue to be a possibility. Go off screen really quickly and check in with the National Weather Service. And it looks like the National Weather Service has issued a new severe thunderstorm warning for Choctaw, Clark, Monroe, and Washington. Came in right there. So now this severe thunderstorm warning encompasses most of northeastern Washington County and then most of Clark County at this point, and tries to move into the western portions of Monroe County. So the information on this from the National Weather Service is that this storm is capable of penny-sized hail and winds of 60 miles per hour. At 10:19, severe thunderstorm located on a line extending from 3 miles south of Butler to near Silas, and this is moving east quickly at 50 miles per hour. So this storm is going to quickly approach the Highway 43 corridor, and if it's moving east that quickly, we can try to put a storm track on it here. Got to extend it a little bit further than I normally would. I'll say it's moving around 40 miles per hour right there. And you can see right now it's over West Bend. In the next 2 minutes, we'll be moving into Coffeyville. So if you're in Coffeyville, now's the time to be seeking shelter from the storm. Interior room, away from as many windows as you possibly can. Those interior rooms, lowest floor of your home, that's going to be your best bet. Wilson in the next 5 minutes, in Center Point the next 7 minutes, in the next 12 minutes in Leroy, in the next 13 minutes in McIntyre, and within the next 14 minutes we'll be approaching Sunflower. So all these communities in northeastern Washington County and through the northern portion of Clark County in the northern part of the NBC 15 area, a lot of it along the Highway 43 corridor, and right now a lot of the heaviest of the rain and the strongest of the winds are now going to be working their way towards the Tombigbee River right along Coffeyville. So those spots, you need to be seeking shelter from this particular storm. Now let's go back to the severe storm that we were watching in George County. And you can see a lot of that heavy rain there. Let me go ahead and I haven't put this product on just yet, but we do have this hail product, and it looks like thankfully we're on our hail tracker. We actually picked up a little bit around Atmore. Some of the storms today have produced hail, and that potential will continue to exist. And as we talked about, that also came about when we saw the tornado watch get issued in the first place. And right now, that storm is actually getting ready to exit Escambia County and is continuing to move up or parallel to I-65, just north of it at this point, into the southwestern portion of Conecuh County and even the southeastern portion of Monroe County, starting to see some of this as well. The area between the severe thunderstorm warnings in Washington County and George County and Mobile County, this doesn't have a severe thunderstorm associated with it. But as this line of storms right here, closing in on Highway 45, moves towards Citronelle, looks like it will be producing at least some pretty gusty winds. So just a heads up for those of you, and get brighter on the radar, that's indicating stronger pockets of wind. It's a little bit away from the radar, but it's still sampling winds of around 65 miles per hour. 57 miles per hour as you get closer to Deer Park, 47 miles per hour there. And right on that line, this storm is likely producing at least some pretty strong winds. And even though they might not be technically severe criteria, those winds could still be strong enough to maybe knock over some trees and even knock down some power lines. And the severe thunderstorm warning that we have for George County, the strongest winds at this point are now right around Highway 613, Agricola up through Vaughn, and will continue more or less moving east along the Highway 98 corridor. And we're just a little while away from this storm working its way into the western extent of Mobile County. This storm was moving a little bit slower, maybe on the magnitude of around 20 miles per hour. So in the next 2 minutes, we'll be moving into Shipman, the next 18 minutes, Moffett, the next 24 minutes in Wilmer, and the next 39 minutes into Georgetown. All right, let's go ahead and I'm going to check to see if the National Weather Service has posted any new updates. The time is currently 10:44. For the producers that we currently have in the booth, what time will we need to? Okay, so 10:28 is when we're going to continue our coverage. There is a tornado warning that is in effect for Jackson County and Mississippi, but that is outside of the NBC 15 area. But as I've said before, there are plenty of spots, there are plenty of folks in Jackson County that still watch us, and being from Jackson County, also want to make sure that we also give just a heads up one more time based on what we're seeing here. So on the storm relative velocity, we have that tornado warning that continues through 11:15. Thankfully, with what I'm seeing at this particular moment, doesn't look like the wind shear is too strong within this tornado warning. But that doesn't mean that the threat is zero. And I just heard from over on the side there that we might have a new tornado warning in our area. I'll wait for that to pop up. And again, if we still have continuous tornado warnings, we are going to be staying with this coverage. So again, we had the one tornado warning that we did see, Jackson County in Mississippi. And the National Weather Service has issued a new tornado warning for Conecuh County and Monroe County. This is the strong storm that we have been watching. And even though it wasn't producing anything severe through portions of northeastern Baldwin, Escambia County in Florida and Alabama, looks like we now have a new tornado warning, and this is going to be moving up towards Range, Lenox, and Repton. So we're going to continue our coverage here, and I just want to get a storm movement on this. This storm is moving to the north at 30 miles per hour. So just based on the reflectivity, it looks like this is where the rotation couplet is going to be, right around Range, right around Lenox, and as it makes its way up towards Repton, it's going to be approaching the Highway 84 corridor before too long. Let me switch this over to the storm relative velocity, and here's an even better look at it. That's a pretty defined couplet that we're seeing just based on the radar. So the greens, that indicates winds moving towards the radar. Reds, winds going away. This is going to be your circulation right here. This is just to the southwest of Range, just to the southwest of Highway 41. So let me go ahead and zoom things in here. If you're on Range Road, you need to be getting into your safe place. Again, this is going to be on the western side of Range. Your tornado shelter, that's going to be the interior room away from as many windows as possible, and also on the lowest floor of your home. For anybody in this area, you need to be getting into that safe place right now. Typically, that safe place is going to be a closet or a bathroom. It might sound silly, but as you go to your safe place, you might want to grab a helmet with you, because if there is some falling debris, the helmet can save your life, and maybe even take a mattress if you're going to get in the bathtub, and then that way that can also shield you as well. So do whatever you can to protect yourself from a storm like this, as it does have that potential of producing a tornado. On the most recent scan, the rotation not as defined. And again, like we talked about before, I know I keep on saying this time and time again, but these storms are spinning up really quickly and fading away really quickly. But that's still enough of a signature right there to suggest that this could still very well be producing a tornado. And this was moving to the north at 30 miles per hour. So I'll put a storm track on it based on the polygon that the National Weather Service drew. And we'll give you some timelines on this. In the next, I'd say 10 minutes, the storm is going to be moving into Repton. This is going to move right along Highway 41. Anyone between Range and Repton on Highway 41, you need to be getting in your safe place. One thing that you can do if you know of anybody that lives in this area, give them a call, let them know that there's a storm capable of producing a tornado that could move over their area, and they want to be getting into that safe place. In the next 20 minutes, Drury, and if the storm is able to hold together, in the next 23 minutes, this will be moving up towards Bermuda. So we'll watch this very closely, but I'll get back down to street level and we'll try to say a few more streets. That way, most of those roads are going to be east of Highway 41. So this is going to be, makes it hard to read a little bit sometimes. So we're zooming all the way down. Tom Null Road, you need to be getting into your safe place. What is this road currently right here? Not being marked from our system right there. So that could just be a dirt road out in the middle of the county. And then on that most recent scan, there you go. You have more of that defined pocket and couplet coming together right there. This is now moving just to the north of Range Road. For those of you on the eastern extent of Kimbell Drive, you need to be getting into that safe place. So again, this is moving up right along Highway 41, just to the west of it, just to the northwest of Range. This storm capable of producing a tornado, and that pocket is very well defined as it continues to move to the north around 30 miles per hour. And we're still 11 minutes away from this storm reaching Repton. For those of you in Repton, you need to be getting into your safe place now and keeping a very close eye on this storm. We're going to continue to be on this storm as long as it's producing that threat of a tornado. And here's the latest update from the National Weather Service. Now most of northern Mobile County, northwestern Baldwin County are now included within a severe thunderstorm warning thanks to this line that's moving in. And I feel like we're probably going to see a little bit more of this as we go through tonight, because while not everybody right along this line will see strong to severe winds, go ahead and draw it right here, just kind of on the extent of that line. Everyone that's going to be right along that line will have the chance of at least seeing severe winds, and this line could also continue to produce entering in. Again, there's enough fuel for these storms to sustain, and any storms that develop out ahead of the main line, like we're currently seeing in the western portion of Conecuh County, this storm will also have the potential to rotate and produce a tornado warning, and that's exactly what we have. So we'll go ahead and go back and see. We probably got the latest scan here from the radar. And on that most recent scan, that's positive. Because just a little while ago, you can definitely tell that there was that tight couplet, but right now, maybe not so much. We'll go ahead and go back the last 15 minutes. And you can see that tight couplet right there, right around Range. And just on that latest scan, there's still some rotation just to the northwest of Range, but it's not quite as strong. So hopefully we get a couple more scans that show it weakening still, and it doesn't cause too much of an issue. All right, looks like we've got a new tornado warning that's going to be coming for portions of George and Mobile. Sorry, we're doing all this live. We're trying to make sure that we're following everything, because as you can tell, we have a lot of tornado warnings actively going. And then here we go. Here's a tornado warning, confirmed tornado. This is in purple. So when you see those polygons flashing in red, that indicates a radar indicated tornado. When you see it in purple, that is a confirmed tornado. Either radar confirmed or somebody on the ground has identified it. So this includes now the easternmost portion of George County into the western portions of Mobile County. And some of the communities that are in this tornado warning: Wilmer, Georgetown, and Chanchula. In these spots, you need to be seeking shelter immediately. Excuse me. Let me go ahead and switch it back over, and we'll try to find the velocity product here. Try to move this away. There we go. And here's, it looks like, where that rotation currently is. This looks like this is getting ready to cross Highway 98 as we speak. So you're Latonia over towards Moffett. right along Highway 98 in the western extent of Mobile County. So this is going to be right along the Alabama and Mississippi line. If this isn't producing, I mean, we have it confirmed at this point, but this is actually fairly close to the radar. So I would not be surprised if it is indeed producing winds of 70 miles per hour. But anyone that's right along Highway 98 in the western portion of Mobile County needs to be seeking shelter. Interior room, away from windows, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and also in the lowest floor of your home. This is going to be right around Grant Road. If you're in Grant Road, you need to be getting into that safe place. Looks like we also have Gemini Road, DeWitt Road, Capricorn Road, Hillmore Drive. If these sound familiar to you, you need to be getting into that safe place, or if you know of anybody in these areas, give them a call. Let them know that there's a storm capable of producing a tornado that's moving close to their area. So again, right on Grant Road, this is all right along Highway 98 in the western extent of Mobile County, and this is a confirmed tornado. Let me see if I can get more information here from the National Weather Service in Mobile. So a confirmed tornado was located 4 miles northwest of Wilmer, or 10 miles southeast of Lucedale, moving east of 30 miles per hour. Radar confirmed tornado. So we saw a couple of confirmed tornadoes yesterday. We have one out there currently, moving to the east at 30 miles per hour. So let me go ahead and put the storm track on it. All right, so in the next minute or two, we'll be moving into Moffett. Within the next 15 minutes, Georgetown, if the circulation is able to hold together. And within the next 25 minutes, for those of you around Oak Grove and Chanchula, we'll need to be keeping a close eye on this storm. If you're right along Highway 45, you don't need to be seeking shelter at this particular moment, but you need to identify where that safe place is. Because if this circulation holds together, then you're going to need to get in that safe place. And keep in mind that this storm is moving pretty quickly, around 30 miles per hour. And we're really starting to see more of that rotation be evident here on the radar. So for the National Weather Service and Mobile radar, you can see the reds. That means winds moving away from the radar. Greens, winds moving towards. And with that confirmed tornado, it's now working its way away from George County and Mississippi and moving into the western extent of Mobile County, just to the northwest of Wilmer. But if you're in Wilmer, I also want you to be getting in your safe place, because there's a very good chance that this at the very least is producing some very strong winds. Let me go ahead and go back in and you'll be able to see 74 miles per hour being indicated by the radar right there, anywhere from 65 to 75 miles per hour. And it doesn't matter what form the winds come in. If they're strong enough, they can produce damage. So this is now moving just to the north of Highway 98, right along Moffett Road. This is going to continue to work its way to the east. So let me go ahead and zoom into a few more streets and get you back down to street level. This is going to be Jones Road. You need to be getting at that safe place currently. Let's go ahead and go to this road currently here. That's going to be, looks like that's hard for me to see right there. The camera keeps on moving. Blewett Tanner Road. You need to be getting into that safe place as well. So we have a confirmed tornado, western portion of Mobile County. This tornado warning is going to continue through 11 o'clock tonight. Time is currently 10:36, and based on what I'm seeing, that couplet, it is still there. It's continuing to move from west to east around 30 miles per hour. So let's project this forward a little bit. This is right along Jones Road, and this is going to be moving towards Macto Lane. You need to be getting into that safe place as well. Let's move this a little bit further to the east. And you can see you got Wilmer Georgetown Road, and then you also are getting to the point where some of these Williams Road. If you live along Jack Williams Road, you need to be getting into your safe place. Let me expand this a little bit more. And if you're out on Lot Road, you need to be getting into your safe place. So anybody in these areas, this storm is now close enough where you also want to be seeking shelter from this confirmed tornado, radar confirmed tornado from the National Weather Service, with this warning continuing through 11 o'clock. Check to see if there are any more new updates right here. It looks like a few minutes ago, the storm in Connecticut County is currently cycling. So this is not the only tornado warning that we actively have. So I do want to go back to the tornado warning that we currently have. Let me go ahead and switch this back to the base reflectivity. We'll get this off of here. There we go. And we'll go back to the north a little bit. And here we go. Here's the tornado warning that we were talking about in Connecticut County and in Monroe County. And chances are you're not going to be able to see this. A lot of this heavy rain is out ahead of that circulation. Please do not try to go outside and see these storms. they are producing some very heavy rain. You will not be able to see these storms coming. If I say that you need to get into your safe place, just get into your safe place. That's going to be the best way and best course of action. But based on what I'm seeing here, the rotation with this particular storm is right around Repton. If you're in Repton, please get into your safe spot at this moment. Time is of the essence here because this storm does look like it's cycling. So some of the streets, looks like we do have these streets. We got Ellis Street, we also have Martin Street, and then we also have Repton Junior High School. Looks like that rotation is right on top of Repton at this point. If you're in Repton, please be getting into your safe place right now. Let's see, the storm for Connect. This storm is soon going to be moving away from Repton. You still want to be in that safe place right along Highway 41, and this is going to be moving along Burnt Corn Road as you start to make your way more in the corner of Monroe County as you go from Connecticut County into Monroe County. And for those of you in Bermuda, heads up, you also need to start thinking about getting into your safe place. Let's go ahead and go back to the Mobile County storm, where it looks like the tornado debris signature has weakened with the storm. So it looks like this was confirmed because it did produce that tornado debris signature. Let me go ahead and actually put that on, and we'll actually be able to tell. Put this over the last 15 minutes. Looking for some lowering the colors right there, and there you go. As this storm was moving from George County into Mobile County, you can actually see just that little pocket right there. There it goes, as it goes right along Highway 98. Tornado debris signature. This was likely a tornado on the ground. Still might be producing a tornado. Again, this is going to be now in the western portion of Mobile County, and you can still see that little notch right there. Let me actually go ahead and put this on now. Might be getting a little confusing right there. So right now it is a radar indicated tornado. So it was a confirmed tornado, but right now the National Weather Service switched that to a radar indicated tornado. But just based on what we're seeing with this particular radar imagery, you can kind of tell it's got that little bit of a hook right in that pocket right there. So let me go ahead and go back down to street level, and we'll be able to see the areas that are in the path of this particular storm. And now in that latest scan, that's definitely positive that it might not be quite as strong, but this is going to be over towards Weaver Road, a little bit further to the east, and that's going to be, it looks like, be easier if it just didn't get a little bit lower like that, and that's going to be Wilmer Georgetown Road as well. In those spots, you still need to be seeking shelter. Let's go ahead and go back to a full-scale view and try to get everyone caught up on what else is happening. We have 2 active tornado warnings. One was a confirmed tornado as it moved from George County into Mobile County. Right now, that is a radar indicated tornado warning that's going to continue for the next 20 minutes. We also have a tornado warning for the western part of Connecticut County and the easternmost part of Monroe County. Right now, that is currently around Repton. We also have a line of severe storms and a blanket of severe thunderstorm warnings that extend from Clark County now down through the north central portion of Mobile County, and it includes the northern edge of Metro Mobile, but it's mainly for Semmes up towards Pritchard and up towards Satsuma as this line of storms continues to move in from the west. For our friends, those of you in Jackson County in Mississippi, the National Weather Service in New Orleans has canceled that tornado warning, so that's definitely positive. We're also still watching some additional storms that are getting close to the Escambia River that are working their way to the northeast. Nothing that's too strong at this particular point, but any storms that develop out ahead of this main line will have the potential to rotate and also have the potential to produce severe criteria or maybe even a tornado. So let's go ahead and go back to the tornado warning that we are watching. That is close to Repton. Again, this is producing some very heavy rain. Tornado warning goes until 11:15. Let's go ahead and put on the velocity product here. And we're still getting that couplet that we're still seeing around Repton. It's not as strong compared to just a little while ago. So hopefully that's some encouraging news, but we're still seeing some pretty strong wind shear in this area, especially just to the east of Repton. If you're in Repton, I still want you in your safe place. Lowest floor of your home, interior room, away from as many windows as possible. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And there's the latest update from the scan from the radar. And that shear has gone down considerably. That is good news, but you still want to take the storm seriously and still be in your safe place. But just based on what I'm seeing on that latest scan, it looks like that threat has at least momentarily gone down. All right, let me go ahead and go back to the base reflectivity, and we're going to go back to the tornado warning in the western part of Mobile County. Again, this is going to continue until 11 o'clock. Time is currently 10:43. All right, so here we go. And we still have this notch, which would indicate that we still have that rotation that's being indicated from the storm, with the winds going in like that and then the winds wrapping around. And this is now approaching Georgetown and now moving to the northeast of Willmar. Let me go ahead and exit out of this and go back to the storm relative velocity. And even if this is not producing a tornado, it's likely going to be at least producing some very strong winds. Again, this is going to be over towards Georgetown. So let's go ahead and put a marker on here right there showing 76 miles per hour. And again, doesn't matter what form the winds come in, if they're strong enough, they can produce some damage. So this is going to be moving towards Lott Road and Georgetown. If you're in these spots, I want you to be seeking shelter as well. Not seeing as much of a defined couplet, which is definitely encouraging and definitely positive, but that wind shear is some of the strongest I've seen so far tonight. You can see it right there. And on the scale, you have weak, strong, as it's moving over the Willmar and Georgetown Road currently. If you're in these areas, you need to be seeking shelter. Willmar, Georgetown Road over to Lott Road. Anybody in this area needs to be seeking shelter from this storm, as it could again produce a tornado. This was earlier a confirmed tornado, and right now it is a radar indicated tornado. I'm going to go ahead and ask Kelly if your microphone's on. What are you seeing, and have you seen any updates, and bring you in on this coverage, Kelly?
Not really seeing much change at this point, except for the circulation is headed towards Georgetown and Mobile County, as you mentioned. Right now, we're not looking at another tornado debris signature at this point. So again, the latest update is that the rotation near Repton up towards Conecuh County and Monroe County, it is weakened tornado warning that we have in place currently.
Okay, so both of which, that's definitely positive. So hopefully we don't see an additional tornado debris signature, because it did produce one as it was crossing the George County line into Mobile County, but we're still seeing that little bit of a hook right there. So still, if you're around Georgetown west of Highway 45, you still need to be seeking shelter from this particular storm. Again, this is going to go until 11 o'clock, but if it continues to lose that indication from the radar, then there's a chance that we do end up seeing that potentially get canceled. And we're still watching the storm that's up around Repton, and as the National Weather Service indicated, it looks like it's really lost a lot of its rotation. And I think it's fair to say at this particular point that this storm is likely not producing a tornado at this particular point. So not only are we not seeing a lot when it comes to the velocity products here on the wind, it's not producing too much in the way of wind shear. So that's good news. Either way, for those of you around Repton, that risk of a tornado has more or less come to an end as it continues to move to the north. But for those of you in Bermuda, I still want you to be watching this closely. We'll still keep an eye on it for the next couple of scans to see if it does spin back up. Now, as we make our way a little bit further to the north and to the west, we're still watching a line of very strong storms now approaching Highway 43, and that encompasses Highway 43 more or less from Mobile County all the way up through portions of Clark County. Within this line, isolated wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour and some small hail going to be a possibility. This storm is now getting its way towards Georgetown, the tornado warning, and will be approaching Chunchula relatively soon. This was moving to the east, I believe, around 30 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and put that track on there, and we'll be able to see. Within the next couple of minutes, we'll be moving into Georgetown. Within the next 15 minutes into Chunchula. I actually think it'll probably be there a little bit sooner if it is able to hold together. And I know I've been saying the same thing over and over again, but as you can see that these storms move quickly. This entire line has been moving anywhere between 20 and around 40 miles per hour from west to east. But once this line of storms passes your neighborhood, the risk of severe weather at that point will begin to go down. So for those of you now in Greene County in Mississippi, northwest of Chatham, looks like the severe risk is coming to an end. However, there are still some at least spotty showers with some heavier rain still that'll be moving through, and the risk of flooding will at least continue. Then as we move down into Jackson County, we are still seeing some strong storms, but nothing severe at this point. And the storm that is producing the tornado warning in the north central and northwestern portion of Mobile County, that main line that's currently moving through Citronelle, likely producing some pretty strong winds and very heavy rain to go along with it for recent days, especially yesterday. That could be a recipe to see additional trees down, because we do have some soaked grounds. Anytime you have the soaked ground and you throw some pretty strong winds on it, it could produce, again, additional trees down and also the potential of maybe even some power outages. So from the National Weather Service, they're continuing the tornado warning for Mobile. Looks like that's going to continue through 11 o'clock tonight. But they still have the tornado warning for Conecuh County and Monroe County. So let's go ahead and go back in. There's probably been a couple of scans that have come in since that particular point. And I'll actually play this forward over the last 15 minutes. And you can see pockets of sometimes where it gets its rotation, but then it starts to fizzle away. Let me actually go back the last 30 minutes of when the tornado warning was issued in the first place. There we go. And then that's where you can see the tornado warning get issued. Rotation kind of fizzled away, and it really hasn't been able to maintain itself since that point. So that's definitely positive. We'll see if the National Weather Service cancels that warning here pretty soon. Go ahead and expand this, and we're going to continue to focus mainly on that tornado warning that's going to be working its way towards Chunchula. So if you're in Chunchula, now is the time you need to be getting into that safe place just in case. Go ahead and make this now. Now we have a better view of this. And there is definitely some rotation kind of right around Georgetown, right around Lott Road. Either way, this storm is producing likely some pretty strong winds. Radar indicated 95 miles per hour. Lott Road, again, even if this isn't producing a tornado, it's likely producing some pretty damaging winds. While it might not necessarily be 95 miles per hour, it's really not that far away from our radar site. So you could still be easily seeing 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, and that is something that we also talked about with the tornado watch. So this is continuing to work its way to the east, and pretty soon we'll be approaching Highway 45. So if you're in Highway 45, you need to be seeking that safe place anywhere between Smithtown and up towards Chunchula, as it looks like that tornado warned part of the storm is going to be moving right through that particular area. So if you're in that area, make sure that you're seeking shelter. We talked to my producer. Do we have any cameras up in this particular area? I don't think that we potentially do, but we have. Okay, so we don't have any cameras up in this area. For those of you that are around Wilmer, the risk of a tornado has come to an end. The same goes for those of you in the eastern part of George County over towards Latonia. Your risk of a tornado has also since come to an end. Expand this and see if we're still looking at the tornado warning for Conecuh County and also Monroe County. It does look like that at least continues for now, but I do believe we'll probably see this canceled. That was set to go until 11:15, and it looks like time is currently 10:51. From the National Weather Service, just now, looks like the National Weather Service will be issuing a additional tornado warning for Mobile County with an additional tornado debris signature. So this is going to be once again a radar confirmed tornado. And as we talked about, producing winds of around 90, based on the radar, winds around 90 miles per hour. So I'll get it ready to throw it back to Kelly here in just a moment, but I do want to put it here on the radar debris signature. And we're going to play this back in time, and we're going to be looking for some lowering of the values within the last 15 minutes. So again, crossing Georgetown right there. As the storm is moving west to east, it looks like it could have indeed been producing at least some damage right there. So this is likely going to be another confirmed tornado warning that continues to get issued areas off to the east, which means eventually areas like Creola and up towards Berry Village and even Satsuma will need to be watching this storm very closely. And I'll go ahead and throw it over to Kelly. And Kelly, what are you seeing at this point?
As of right now, there is a new tornado warning, just as you mentioned, Thomas, you were waiting for it. It has been issued for northeastern Mobile County and also west central Baldwin County until 11:15. A tornado producing a storm is located near Chunchula, 10 miles west of Satsuma. It is moving east at 30 miles per hour. Just like you were thinking, Thomas, that this warning was going to be issued. Again, a brand new tornado warning for northeastern Mobile County and west central Baldwin County until 11:15. Again, that storm producing a possible tornado is near Chunchula or 10 miles west of Satsuma. It is moving east at about 30 miles per hour. Flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter, so definitely seek safe shelter. If you're upstairs, go downstairs. Make sure that you're in the safe zone as your home. Inside your home, it's going to pass near Chunchula around 10:55, Criolla and Satsuma around 11:05, and the Axis community around 11:10. So as of right now, a brand new tornado warning has been issued by the National Weather Service, and we definitely encourage everyone to take cover now. Thomas?
Yep. So as you can see, it's flashing in that purple, and that just means it's a confirmed tornado, that we likely have a tornado on the ground that's working its way now towards Highway 45. It's about to cross Highway 45. If you know of anybody in this area between Smithtown and Chunchula, you need to give them a heads up and let them know that they need to be seeking shelter. But as we expand with this tornado warning, I'll actually put it on now so that way we can get a kind of better sense of what's happening here. We're starting to get to the point where we're starting to see starting to see spots like Axis, Criolla, Satsuma, and Saraland within this tornado warning. So if you're in these areas, right along Highway 43 and even right along the I-65 corridor, now is the time that you need to be identifying that safe place and where you're going to go within the next couple of minutes. So these storms all moving east around 30 miles per hour. And we have a confirmed tornado that's now getting ready to cross Highway 45 that is moving east at 30 miles per hour. So right now it is more or less over Chunchula, especially the southern part of Chunchula. In the next 2 minutes, Malvilla, and then over the next 8 minutes, Celeste, and the next 15 minutes will be moving into Satsuma, and then in the next 15 to 20 minutes, Criolla and Axis will be under the gun for the potential of a tornado if it holds together this long, which there is a chance that it will, because if you do remember with this particular tornado warning, it was first issued in George County in Mississippi, and it has been able to sustain itself as it's continued to move to the east. But like we've seen with these storms, could be one of those situations where they spin up really quickly, they lose their circulation, and then they spin up again. So at any point when we have these tornado warnings, you need to make sure that you're seeking shelter and don't get a false sense of security. If it looks like the risk of a tornado has passed, we will make sure that we let you know. For those of you that are in Wilmer, the risk of a tornado for you at least has since come to an end. But right now, Chunchula, Smithtown, and even the northern edge of Malvilla, you need to be getting into that safe place now. And I'll say it time and time again. Your safe place is going to be an interior room away from as many windows as possible. It's going to be put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Lowest level of your home in a sturdy structure. Might sound silly. Put on the helmet. That way, in case there is any debris that does fall, it can at least protect your head. And if you get into a bathtub, for example, in a bathroom, then you can maybe put even a mattress on top of you just to have that extra blanket of security. So right now, this is currently crossing Highway 45. This is a confirmed tornado now moving through the north central portion of Mobile County, and before too long it'll start to approach Highway 43 and I-65. Now let's go ahead and go back over towards the tornado warning that was issued for Conecuh and Monroe County, and thankfully the National Weather Service has canceled this warning, as the risk of a tornado in this spot has at least for now come to an end. But we'll continue to watch the storm closely. But based on the severe winds, as you can see, the rotation couplet, that has since gone away. So that would suggest that the risk of a tornado for your location has at least come to an end. So it looks like we're starting to see a few more warnings continuing to get issued, mainly severe thunderstorm warnings. And also, one thing I also do want to mention is that with this tornado warning, outside of it producing a tornado, more or less from Tanner Williams all the way up through the Clark County line, there is going to be that potential that these storms produce winds of storms, because where that happens is where we could see additional rotation, which means even for spots that don't have an active tornado warning, that doesn't necessarily mean that we might not see other ones get issued. But again, the main concern at this particular point is the confirmed tornado that we do have for Mobile County that's currently moving just east of Highway 45. So that risk continues to now move east of Highway 45. For those of you in Georgetown, your risk of a tornado has since come to an end. So that is positive for you. But if you know of anybody that is just east of Highway 45, they need to be seeking shelter. So let me go ahead and put this on. 67 miles per hour, not quite as strong as earlier. So that's positive as well. Doesn't look like the signature might be as strong on the winds here, but let me pull up the wind shear. But the wind shear is still significant, especially just to the west of Celeste. For those of you in Celeste, you need to be getting into that safe spot now. This is also going to include Ridge Road. You also have some of the strongest winds over Oak Grove Road getting down to our street level. You can also see Radcliffe Drive. You need to be getting in your safe place. If these names sound familiar, same goes for you. Just get into that safe place. It starts to move towards you. We also have Army Road exit. We also have Fillmore Drive East, Army Road, and up towards Celeste Road. So this is now moving east of Highway 45 and working its way towards Celeste. So for those of you in Celeste, please be getting into your safe place now, as this storm, again, still has that potential to produce a tornado. And you can kind of tell just based on the radar imagery right here, you're probably getting that loop in right there and coming around right there. That's where your rotation is going to be. And as it continues to move to the east, it's mainly working its way towards Celeste, and it continues on this projection. Then for those of you in Creola and Axis, you're going to be under the gun to see this storm work its way towards you. Now, there is a chance it could move a little bit further to the northeast up towards Lemoyne, or maybe even take a little bit of a jog down to the southeast and over towards Satsuma. Every spot I just highlighted right there, you need to be you need to be mindful of where your safe place is. And for those of you in Celeste, you need to be getting into that safe place right now. So we just got the new radar scan in. Let's see what the severe winds are saying. Not seeing as much when it comes to at least a rotation, but we're still seeing that strong wind shear associated with this storm. So at the very least, it's likely producing at least some very strong winds, maybe on the magnitude of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Kelly, is there any new updates from the National Weather Service?
No updates at this point. Now we have severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place until 11:45. For Monroe County as well as Conecuh County, due to that severe thunderstorm about 7 miles northwest of I-65 and Highway County, moving northeast right now at a good clip at about 30 miles per hour. The big hazard with that severe thunderstorm warning is going to be ping pong size hail and 60 mile per hour wind gusts. And so within these thunderstorms that are occurring, we are going to be looking at just some tremendous winds right now. Also, there is another severe thunderstorm warning in effect with potential for hail, and that one is in effect until midnight, and that includes east central Washington County as well as Clark County and Conecuh County, the western part of Conecuh County. That's going to be until midnight, and that's due to a line of storms from 6 miles southwest of Dixon's Mill to 9 miles northwest of Fulton to 5 miles southwest of Grove Hill, also near Waggerville. That line, those storms along it are racing northeast a little bit faster, about 40 miles per hour. The main hazard with that severe thunderstorm warning until midnight is going to be 60 mile per hour wind gusts, which can, of course, cause damage to roofs, siding, trees. Some of the areas that would be impacted include Camden, Fulton, Frisco City, Peterman, Jackson, Yellow, that live within those counties to remain alert tonight. Although those areas are under a severe thunderstorm warning, we're not ruling out a possible tornado, and tornadoes definitely can develop quickly from severe thunderstorms. So definitely make sure that you're ready to retreat to your safe zone rapidly. Make sure your cell phones are charged up, and be ready to go to that lowest level of your home should your neighborhood fall under a tornado warning. And you know, as you were talking about earlier, Thomas, some of the severe thunderstorm warnings can also have just a tremendous amount of wind. So right now, an update to that tornado warning in Mobile County. The circulation does appear to be weakening with the latest run, and also some preliminary reports of structure damage in northern Escambia County, Alabama, just north of I-65. There is some preliminary reports of some structure damage there from the Emergency Management Agency from that tornadic storm earlier. So we'll be finding out more information from the National Weather Service on that damage as we progress through the next couple of minutes. Thomas?
Yeah, so this is all what we were talking about leading up to tonight, that this was going to be the main window of storms, and it's living up to the billing at this particular point. We still have the one active tornado warning for north central Mobile County. We'll get you back to that one in just a moment. One thing that caught my eye is that as you go into the northern extent of Conecuh County, when they issued this particular severe thunderstorm warning, they mentioned the possibility of ping pong ball sized hail. And that is severe criteria hail. That's something that you typically don't see all that often. So this is just north of Belleville and working its way up towards Booker's Mill. So you definitely want to be inside. You do not want to be outside when a storm that's capable of producing ping pong ball size hail is working its way towards you. You can just kind of get a glimpse. Whenever you start to see purples on the just general reflectivity or the main product when it comes to the radar, that's indicating that we could be seeing hail. So in that area up towards Bernalson and up towards Fowler, that's that pocket where we could be looking at the potential of that ping pong ball size hail. So seek shelter from that storm immediately. But let's go ahead and get you back down. This rotation from this storm has indeed weakened, and that's exactly what we're seeing. But for those of you in Celeste, I still want you in your safe place just in case. It's always better to err on the side of caution here, because even though we are not looking at the wind product showing that much in the way of rotation, we're still seeing it here on our rotation detector. So this storm is at least still rotating, and there's nothing to say, as we have seen with this storm, as that rotation fizzles away, it might be able to spin back up as it continues to move to the east, as this is still in a very favorable environment for storms to rotate and maybe produce tornadoes. So if you're on Radcliffe Road around Creola, again, this is going to be getting close to I-65 and Highway 43 here pretty soon. Anywhere between Satsuma and up towards Axis, now is the time that you want to be getting into that safe place just in case, just out of an abundance of caution. Again, the rotation doesn't look quite as strong compared to earlier, but this storm has already produced a couple of instances of confirmed tornado debris based on the radar. So 2 instances where it was a radar confirmed tornado. So if you're along that portion of Highway 43 between Axis down towards Satsuma, you still want to get in your safe place, and that does encompass that area right along I-65. This tornado warning is going to continue until 11:15, and the time is currently 11:05. So let's go ahead and exit out of this. I'm going to go back to the view as a whole across the NBC 15 area and just kind of give you an update of where we currently stand. We've been on air since before 10 o'clock. And since that point, we have seen multiple severe thunderstorm warnings, and we've also seen multiple tornado warnings. Severe thunderstorm warnings have been producing very strong winds and even some hail, especially that storm in the northeastern portion of Conecuh County. Meanwhile, for those of you that are west of this line, your risk of severe weather is coming to an end. So I'm going to actually toggle on the active tornado watch to see if the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service is whittling it away. And here you go. For those of you in Greene County in Mississippi, your risk of severe weather has more or less come to an end. So as this line continues to move from west to east, you will also see the tornado watch get whittled away. But if you are along and ahead of that line of storms, there's still that potential that you could continue to see severe weather, and there's still that potential that we could see damaging wind gusts, maybe on the magnitude of 80 miles per hour, ping pong ball size hail, and also isolated spin-up tornadoes, which we're currently seeing in the north central portion of Mobile County, now moving east of Celeste and approaching Axis, Creola, and Satsuma. We just got the latest scan in right there, and let's see if it's spun up again right here. There's still just a little bit of a pocket that I'm concerned about towards Pennsylvania and up towards Creola. So if you're in Creola especially, that's where you want to be in that safe place. We're really close to the radar, so we actually have a really good idea of what's happening close to the ground right there. Let me go ahead and switch it over to the shear marker right there. And we're still seeing some pretty strong shear being indicated from the radar. And as you can see, it looks like as it continues on this current trajectory, it's going to move right between Creola and over towards Pennsylvania. Let me go ahead and expand this a little bit, and we'll put a storm track on it as it continues to move to the east right around 30 miles per hour. So this is moving fairly quickly still. So in the next few minutes, this is going to be moving into Creola, next 20 minutes in Hurricane, and then in the next 24 minutes into Carpenter. But by that point, you're in Baldwin County. So as this begins to cross the Mobile-Tensaw Delta, it could, again, continue to maintain itself and then maybe work its way over into Baldwin County. So if you're anywhere from Barlow Landing up through Crossroads and Bay Minette, you need to be keeping a watchful eye on this storm just in case. Go ahead and switch this back over to the main reflectivity. But based on what the National Weather Service was saying is that the rotation isn't quite as strong earlier, even though in a couple of instances it does look like it at least produced some damage. And it looks like the tornado warning that we had in Escambia County also might have produced some damage. We've seen some preliminary reports on that. Also looks like we also have a damage report from Grove Hill from the line of storms that moved through. So not only are storms that are producing tornado warnings also producing damage, but it looks like just this line of storms as a whole might be doing that as well. And you can see that the severe thunderstorm warning for Clark County has now been extended east to include most of Monroe County, and this is going to go through midnight tonight. So we're going to have these severe thunderstorm warnings continuing for at least quite some time. And we're still watching these storms down around Jackson County, Mississippi, because as they get ready to work their way into southern Mobile County, they'll also have the potential to become severe. And of course, we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we don't see any more severe weather, but that potential will continue to exist. So I'll toss things over to Kelly. Kelly, have you seen anything new on your end so far?
Well, like you mentioned, Thomas, in terms of the preliminary storm report, up in Clark County in the Grove Hill community, 65-mile-per-hour wind gusts were measured at the Clark County Emergency Management Agency, and also in Grove Hill, power poles were broken and trees are down in the city of Grove Hill due to some very strong wind gusts tonight. Also, there were indications of some severe weather damage. Preliminary reports coming in from Escambia County, Alabama. No update on that just yet from the National Weather Service. So as of right now, it looks like 2 counties are dealing with some storm reports in terms of damage. It appears to be Escambia County, Alabama, and Clark County, Alabama. So again, that tornado warning continues from Mobile and Baldwin, and we've got a line of severe thunderstorm warnings that are still in place currently.
Okay. So we're still watching this very closely as it's moving from west to east when it comes to this main line. Just saw from the National Weather Service that they're going to let this warning, tornado warning, for north central Mobile County expire at 11:15. So that tells me that it looks like the risk of at least this storm producing a tornado is waning, if not coming to an end, at least entirely for now. And then there you go, just based on what I'm seeing here on the wind product, doesn't look like we're seeing much in the way of rotation there. And on the shear, it's still there. If you're still between Highway 43 and then I-65, but there you go on the latest scan, not seeing quite as much. That's all positive. You still want to be in that safe place though. And if you're around some of these roads, that's where you need to be hunkered down at this point. Dead Lake Road up towards Bentley Road North. We also have Rio Hondo Drive, Penny Lane, Jackson Street. We have, it looks like that's Lister Dairy Road. You need to be getting into that safe place as well. And then areas just to the east. But of course, you go any further east, you start to encounter the river. So we're going to get to the point eventually where this is going to be moving its way away from communities and then over the Mobile-Tensaw Delta here. Go ahead and get rid of this. So a confirmed tornado warning. They're going to let this expire at 11:15. I'll stay with this for a couple more scans. But if we don't see it get extended anymore, which it doesn't look like it will, we'll mainly have severe thunderstorm warning. So if we continue on this trajectory here, we will go ahead and wrap up our coverage once it looks like the threat of a tornado has come to an end in north central Mobile County. We'll be able to regroup and kind of look through things again, and if we do see any additional tornado warnings, you'll see us back here on NBC 15 TV, and we're going to continue to try to keep the website at mynbc15.com up to date along with our social media pages. So the time is currently 11:12. I'm going to wait about 30 more seconds, and of course, as soon as I say that, looks like we have a new tornado warning that was issued for Butler County and Conecuh County. So this is the storm that we've been tracking more or less all evening. This storm that we're seeing move through Conecuh County actually started off in southern Mobile County and has just continued to move to the northeast. So this is a tornado warning that also has the potential to produce ping pong ball size hail. This is radar indicated tornado until 11:45. Let's go ahead and get the velocity product on here. And then that's definitely a more defined couplet when it comes to the wind speeds right here. This is going to be moving right along Highway 83, excuse me. For some reason, the map decided it wanted to flip on me, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and zoom things back in here. For those of you on Highway 83, around Bowles, you need to be getting into that safe place right now. Not only will this storm have the potential to produce a tornado, but we also are likely going to see some pretty strong winds. And we also have that potential to see ping pong ball size hail. That's something you don't typically see every single day in our area. And right around Booker's Mill, you can look on the hail scale right there, and you can see that this is likely at least producing some hail. It might not necessarily be ping pong ball size, but that potential still exists. So right along Bowles, you need to be getting into that safe place now. This is going to include, it looks like Ross Road, Crooks Cross Road. In these areas, that's where you need to be seeking shelter. So Ross Road, Highway 83, Crooks Cross Roads, and County Road 13. If you're in these spots, you need to be getting into that safe place, and Liefehon needs to be getting into that safe place as well. Interior room, away from windows, lowest level of your home. This is moving to the northeast at 30 miles per hour. Moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. You put a storm track on this, and we can give communities a heads up of where this is going to be going. If the technology will cooperate with me. There you go. So 25 miles per hour. The next 13 minutes will be moving towards Grace, within the next 27 minutes into Providence, and by that point, it's going to be working its way into Butler County. But again, for those of you in Bowles, you need to be getting into that safe place now, as again, this storm has the potential to produce a tornado. The time is currently 11:15. That's when the tornado warning for Mobile County was set to expire, and there you go. Severe tornado warning has been allowed to expire, and as of right now, it's just a severe thunderstorm, but still could see winds of around 60 miles per hour, even though we're not seeing as strong a rotation. And I'm also continuing to keep an eye on the storms down in Jackson County, Mississippi. So for those of you in southern Mobile County, just a heads up, it's probably going to get loud here pretty soon. So the main concern at this particular point is going to be this tornado warning in the northern portion of Conecuh County, and this is going to also include Deans, Commerce, Bethel, and up towards Grace as you go from Conecuh County into Butler County. And honestly, the main concern could potentially be not only the tornado, but also that potential of ping pong ball size hail. But just within the last couple of scans, we're still getting that tight couplet right there, and that's just to the west of Bowles. So right along Highway 83, if you're in Bowles, you need to be seeking shelter from the storm immediately. So we could be looking at large hail, strong winds, and that potential of a tornado. And just a few minutes ago, it looks like the National Weather Service also indicating that the circulation is indeed strengthening as it approaches Highway 83, excuse me. This is a strong storm that continues to move to the north, and even for areas outside of the tornado warning within the severe thunderstorm warning, we have that potential for that ping pong ball size hail and wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. And we're seeing more of that heavy rain that continues to move in. For those of you that are in George County in Mississippi, before too long, your risk of severe weather will be coming to an end. Once that severe thunderstorm moves east into Mobile County completely, your risk of severe weather will come to an end. And as we've already talked about, the tornado watch for Greene County in Mississippi, that has also been canceled from the Storm Prediction Center and also from our local weather service, the National Weather Service in Mobile. And here's that area that was also indicated from Kelly that I was talking about with the damage report up around Grove Hill. So multiple severe thunderstorm warnings do remain in effect, while we have the one active tornado warning for the northeastern portion of Conecuh County as you make your way up towards Butler County. So we'll stay with the storm. Those of you that might be watching from Grace up towards Beacon, Georgiana, and then up towards Starlington, you also want to be getting into your safe place, because this storm, again, not only is producing the potential of a tornado, but also likely at least some pretty large hail and also maybe wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. But that is a very strong signature that is now approaching Bowles, and this is moving over Crooks Crossroads currently. Please get into your safe place. If you know of anybody that lives in this area, they might, if they're not watching, give them a call, let them know that they need to be seeking shelter from this, because it looks like at the very least that this is producing some pretty strong winds. So we'll try to figure out, just based on what the radar is sampling here, showing 58 miles per hour. But again, this is a decent ways up in the atmosphere, so it might be hard to tell exactly what's happening at ground level. But this is a tornado warning that's moving its way through the northeastern extent of Conecuh County and will soon be working its way towards Butler County. The latest scan right there is positive. Doesn't look like the rotation is quite as strong as the most recent one right there. So we'll hopefully that continues to be the case. but it still looks like it's still producing some pretty large hail just based on what we're seeing on the hail tracker there currently. So let's go ahead and expand the view back again, and I'm going to put all this into motion over the last 1 hour. So you can just kind of see what the storms have been doing, and you can see these little icons popping up. Those are actually reports of damage that we've been getting in from the National Weather Service. All these storms are moving fairly quickly. Moving from west to east around 15 to 30 to even 40 miles per hour at some points. So we've been watching the tornado warning in Conecuh and Butler County. That rotation was strengthening on that latest scan. Doesn't look like it was strengthening at that point, so hopefully that continues to be the case. But it's been a long night so far. We've seen multiple tornado warnings. We've had a couple of confirmed tornadoes, and we've also had damage reports. This line of storms will continue to move through as we go through tonight, and it's not too much longer now until we get into the overnight hours. For those of you that are along and east of I-65, as you get ready to go to bed tonight, just make sure that you have multiple ways that you can get alerts just in case a warning is issued for your location, and at least one of those alerts should be loud enough to be able to wake you up. So if you head off to bed tonight, just know that you want to have at least one way that you can stay up to date with the weather just in case, and know where your safe place is in case you have to get out of bed and go to that safe place. Now, if you're east of I-65, hopefully as we continue to move through tonight and we continue to move farther and farther away from sundown, the risk begins to go down, but we just can't bank on that. But hopefully the risk does at least weaken at least somewhat as this line continues to move from west to east. The line does appear to be a little bit more broken, but it is still producing some pretty strong winds. The northern portion of Mobile County, for those of you now on the western edge, northwestern part of Baldwin County, especially over towards Blackshear, you're starting to see some of the heaviest winds and also some of the strongest rain that's now approaching your area from the west. And we're also starting to see a lot of that heavier rain, gusty winds moving into the western extent of Monroe County. But pretty soon, once that line of storms moves to the east of Clark County, your risk of seeing severe weather will also come to an end. So let me go ahead and go back on the current watch to see if there's any more counties that have been canceled from the tornado watch. And at this point, still the only county within the NBC 15 area that has seen the tornado watch be canceled is in Greene County in Mississippi. So going back to the storm that's moving through the northern extent of Conecuh County, go ahead and put it back onto the storm relative velocity here. And we still have that radar signature now crossing Highway 83. This is now moving up towards the Deans community and up towards Bethel. If you're in those spots or anywhere around there, and even around Grace, you need to be getting into your safe place, and just outside of the NBC 15 area up towards Beacon and up towards Starlington as well. Kelly, I'm wondering, have you seen anything else from the National Weather Service, or have there been any more reports of damage that you've seen?
No more reports of damage, and right now just that the tornado watch is continuing until 2 a.m. for pretty much all of the NBC 15 neighborhood. Soon, due to the fact that that line continues to march its way eastward. And as you mentioned, that tornado warning is continuing at this point for Conecuh County as well as Butler, as there's, the circulation has been pretty intense near the Bowles Cooks Crossroads area in Conecuh County. But otherwise, the tornado watch is continuing, and there could still be spin-ups along that line of storms, and of course the potential for that ping pong size hail, which is something that we don't see every day with severe storms, and that definitely can produce some damage as well as wind.
Yeah, that it can. So, and then also should also mention that these areas that are highlighted in the green, so I'll step off screen really quickly and move back in. But these areas in green in Baldwin County, Escambia County, Northwest Florida, and along the I-65 corridor in southern Conecuh and throughout portions of Escambia County and Alabama, those are flood advisories, because earlier when that line of storms was moving through, it quickly dropped around 2 to 4 inches of rain. And as you can see, a lot of that heavy rain is now moving back into Mobile County, especially from the southwest. So Pascagoula seeing some pretty heavy rain. Jackson County last night picked up some significant rain. There was some significant flooding, even with some water rescues in the northern part of Jackson County in Mississippi, north of I-10. They're seeing some very heavy rain out there tonight. And with this rain, that could only increase maybe our flooding concerns. And as you add on some strong winds to it, they don't necessarily need to be severe criteria winds, but they could be enough to produce some trees down and also some additional power outages. But zooming back in here to the storm that's getting ready to move into Butler County, you can see that for the most part, the radar is having a hard time since we're moving a decent ways away from the radar. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and switch it to the Eglin Air Force Base radar. We might actually get a better view from that. And there you go, a little bit better of a view, still showing that couple, but that's working its way now up towards Deans, anywhere from Deans, Grace, and to Bethel. Still want to be in that safe place, but if you're down around Booker's Mill, your risk of a tornado has more or less come to an end. And let's see if it's still producing some hail. And it looks like, switch this back over to the hail marker, and it looks like maybe at this point it's not producing as much hail, which would definitely be a positive thing, because when you see those warnings get issued that potentially produce ping pong ball size hail, that's definitely enough to produce damage and definitely some broken windshields as well. We'll stay with this storm until it works its way out of Conecuh County. But again, for those of you in Deans, Bethel, you still want to be in your safe place and just outside of the NBC 15 area. I know that we still have folks that are watching from Beacon up towards Starlington and even up towards Sand Cut. You need to be keeping a very watchful eye on this storm. If this storm moves into Butler County and we don't see any more tornado warnings issued, we'll get off air at least for a little while. We'll be able to recollect ourselves. We've been on air almost for a couple of hours now, as we've seen multiple tornado warnings, even a couple of confirmed tornadoes, and multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. Just about all the severe thunderstorm warnings are along and north of I-10 at this point, stretching from Clark County down through Mobile County. But that is one thing that I will actually do currently, is show you the national radar, because you'll see that it's not only our area that's dealing with this line of storms. It's more or less the entire state of Alabama right now. You have severe thunderstorm warnings that go from the Tennessee and Alabama line all the way down through Birmingham, just west of Montgomery, and then down towards Mobile on the I-10 corridor. So the system driving this is definitely a strong one. And as you look out into the Gulf of Mexico, as these storms try to work their way to the northeast, these are in a pretty favorable environment. As they start to work their way a little bit closer to the coastline, those storms could also become severe. So not only are we watching the storms to the west, but we're also watching the storms down to our southwest. So this tornado warning that is working its way now out of Conecuh County is now working its way into, it looks like, Butler County at this particular point. That tornado warning is expected to continue to go until 11:45, and the time is currently 11:26 this evening. So it looks like on that most recent scan, it doesn't look like the rotation is as strong, and it even looks like on the shear, we're not seeing quite as much on that particular scan. So hopefully that means that the risk of a tornado in that area is at least slowing down. And then, have you seen anything else there, Kelly?
As of right now, just that the circulation in Conecuh County is now south of Mixonville, near Highway 29 and the Deans area. So it looks like the tornado warning is continuing for Conecuh County until 11:45. So we do have about 45, excuse me, we definitely have just over 15 minutes, almost 20 minutes left on this tornado warning for Conecuh County. So we definitely encourage everyone that is in that area, especially 29, County Road 29 and Deans, to definitely stay in that safe zone until the storm has passed. So we've got about 20 more minutes, less than 20 minutes left. Again, that tornado warning until 11:45. Just stay there until it passes. Make sure your phones are charged up. But as of right now, no more reports on damage besides the damage in Grove Hill with some power lines down and some trees, and no other reports at this time.
Okay. So one thing that I've also just saw from the National Weather Service is that this severe thunderstorm warning in portions of Mobile and Baldwin County, as you can see, this storm is right on the edge of this severe thunderstorm warning. They're not going to continue this as of right now as a severe thunderstorm. They're issuing a special weather statement. It's still a strong storm as it's going to be moving into northern Baldwin County, but instead of producing winds of around 60 miles per hour, the National Weather Service thinks that this line of storms will produce winds closer to 40 miles per hour. Still could produce some damage, but 40 miles per hour is a lot better than 60 miles per hour. And of course, as we're watching the circulation weakening with the storm as it goes from Conecuh County into Butler County, for those of you in Deans, I still want you in your safe place right now, but pretty soon this is going to be moving outside of the NBC 15 area. So within the next 5 to 10 minutes, your risk of a tornado will be coming to an end. We'll stay with this over the next couple of minutes. We'll continue to watch the next couple of scans just to make sure that there's nothing that's too concerning. But if things continue on this path, and I've said that twice now, so hopefully I'm not jinxing anything, knock on wood, whatever you have to do, that we don't see any more tornado warnings get issued. But again, that severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Mobile, Washington, and Baldwin counties, that was set to continue through 11:30. They're not going to continue it. They're going to let that expire and let that become a special weather statement. But the severe thunderstorm warning that we do have that produced some damage back around Grove Hill along Highway 43, that's going to continue through midnight tonight. So if you're in along Highway 84 and even towards Monroeville, you still need to be severe storms works its way towards your neighborhood. And then we're also still watching some additional strong storms coming in from the southwestern portion of Mobile County. And some of these point when it comes to wind shear or winds that might be on the magnitude of 60 miles per hour. But again, these storms are still strong and likely producing winds of at least 40 miles per hour and maybe produce a severe thunderstorm warning or maybe even a tornado warning. But based on the current reflectivity here, let me go back over here. The risk of a tornado has come to an end. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and wrap up this coverage. We're going to go ahead and recollect ourselves. We're going to continue to watch these storms very closely. It's still a code red weather day. You still want to make sure that you're staying on top of the weather. We're going to be here. If we see any more tornado warnings get issued, we'll be back here on NBC 15 TV, and we're going to continue to provide you information on social media, mynbc15.com. And don't forget, whenever we're live on TV, you can also watch us on our live stream as well. That's on mynbc15.com. But we'll continue to watch, and if there are any more updates, we'll break back in and we'll let you know. But for right now, we'll go ahead and get you back to your regularly scheduled programming.